Hello everyone, I wanted to go ahead and speak with you today about this concept of forgiveness. And I've really been thinking about it, especially with the really tense time we have in our country right now, with a lot of hurts, a lot of pain and things like that, a lot of words being thrown around, a lot of things being done to people that were not really warranted. All of these different things lead me to believe that we are in need of reminder of what forgiveness is all about. One of the things I was thinking about was the story of Jesus when he was on the cross. And if you've ever read that story, you'll know that not only was Jesus on the cross, which we normally always think about, but there were also two criminals next to him on the cross. One was on his left, one was on his right. On one side, you had a criminal who was just angry with the world. He was so angry that he had gotten caught. He hated everyone around him. He was entitled to take the things that he took, and just all of these things that were just stirring in his heart. On the other side, we see a criminal next to Jesus who was truly repentant. And he told Jesus to forgive him and ask him to remember him when he goes into paradise. This man was a man who was abandoned to the fact that he had done what he had done. He deserved this punishment, and he just wanted to be free from the captivity that was enslaving his heart. Jesus, at the time of his dying, forgave that man. It made me ask the question, before I even thought about this, what was the time in Jesus' life that signified the end of his ministry? When did he stop ministering to people? As a man who was man and God, how in the world did he know when to say, well, I think it's done? Was it at the Last Supper, maybe? Last Supper, he gathered the guys around, so to speak, and he looked around and he said, guys, this is it. I'm going to go in retirement now, and, you're not going to see me here. No, Jesus didn't do that. What we realize is, even while he was dying, he was still ministering to people. Not only was he doing it for the people, the whole world, not only was he being a billboard for suffering, but he was also forgiving this man. He could have thought in that moment, Jesus could have thought about himself, how much pain he was in, how he was going to survive that extra few moments, how this whole resurrection thing was going to logistically happen. He had to figure out the equations and all of that kind of thing. But he didn't. Instead, his same focus when he entered this world was the same focus when he temporarily exited it. And to me, that blows my mind, because as Christians, we tend to take little breaks from ministering. We want to take time for ourselves. We want to make sure that we're surviving. We want to make sure that we're thriving before we pour into someone else. And how weak physically was Jesus when he was hanging on the cross dying for us? Probably pretty weak. Sure, there was power in the activity that was happening, but it makes me think about how many excuses as Christians we make for not ministering to someone. In this moment of forgiveness, Jesus showed us that power can come through weakness. He didn't have the energy to feed 5,000. He didn't have the energy to do all of these things that he would normally do to heal someone, to change someone's life through whatever. But he was changing lives by what he was doing through his weakness, or at least through his perceived weakness. So in a moment where he could have thought about himself, Jesus thought about this man who was so enslaved by guilt and shame and just disgust. and he forgave him. Over here, this man, the other criminal, was so angry he couldn't forgive other people for ratting on him, maybe, or for putting him up here. It was everyone else's fault but his that he was in this situation, and really, it was his. You see, as we go about our lives, we can really get into our own heads and own hearts, and we start to think that this world's all about us. It's all about making us comfortable, making us survive, dealing with our struggles, dealing with our stuff. But what we realize is Jesus has called us for more than that if we're a Christian. He has called us to constantly be ministering to people through our understanding of what we've been through, and not just looking at ourselves. Sure, we have to take time away, vacation, we have to take a nap every once in a while. But if our hearts are so full of Jesus, we will never stop ministering to people. Now, what does this have to do with forgiveness? It means that as Christians, we can't afford to be weighed down with things that are just there to give us perceptive power. You see, when we don't forgive somebody, or we don't forgive a situation, we don't forgive ourselves, we think for some reason we hold this powerful, let's say, 80s fantasy movie, thinking about that powerful crystal that gives us all the power in the universe to control, to kill, to destroy, to lift up, to give life to. When in actuality, this very idea is the one that is so toxic to our hearts, minds, and spirits that it takes away our power. It takes away our authority. It takes away everything. But I know what you're thinking, Landon. If I forgive them, then ... I don't think you get to choose what someone's destiny is. I don't think you get to choose, or I don't get to choose, how someone will have to deal with their Creator based on what they have done. It is a whole lot easier to hold on to your anger. Trust me. It is very easy. But if we will just, as a nation, as Christians, as individuals, as human beings, learn that forgiveness is simply drinking a poison and expecting another person to die, we realize that Christ has called us as Christians to constantly be ministering to people. That means we have to take off the shackles off ourselves, which we have the key to. Forgiveness is something that is so important because Christ calls us as Christians. The Bible tells us that if we're not forgiving, we're sinning. And we know sinning is not great. So choose to forgive today. Yes, it's going to be hard. What if they don't learn their lesson? What if they don't feel the pain that I feel? What if? Just let it go. You don't have the right to control someone else's suffering. And I hope that you don't have the desire. Because Jesus calls us to a more abundant life that we could be part of if we'll just learn to let go. Forgive today. Don't let those shackles keep you captive. Bye-bye now.